I made this one for you in Austria, and I made one for my colleagues in China. And that one was actually the one that I liked the most. And I was very excited to send it over to my colleague in China and saying, hey, if you want to use it, maybe you can use it for the first slide on your presentation. Yes. 9 words killed it all. I received an email from my colleague saying, hi, Felix, it is illegal to design a flag in China. Fuck. What went wrong? The only thing I wanted to do is add some meaning and some context. So, I didn't know that it was forbidden in China. Probably next time I try the country, I get sent back home. But what is the key to the right context then? So what did I wrong? Why did I fail? And there's only one thing. I did not do my homework. I had a lack of knowledge. The key to the right context is knowledge, is to understand the product, to understand the cultures, the target audience, to understand everything. You know, we are all creative, so we try to do things, and we have I think, the best job in the world because we can imagine things before they actually happen. So we come up with crazy ideas, sometimes a little bit too crazy, and that is why we should maybe have a brief and think in the right corridor or get an alignment and some help from outside, that we actually work and think in the right context, that this does not happen, what I just showed you. How do we get all this information? Remember those abbreviations I showed you before? There's 3 letters, ASK. Does anybody know what that stands? Well, actually, it's not an abbreviation. It just means ask. Ask, 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 and ask again. What's the worst thing that can happen? You already have a no. You can have a yes. So just ask yourself, ask others, and yes, be curious. Stay curious. Question everything. Be critical. Be doubtfully all the time, and you will find that little magic that you may need to come up with a brilliant idea or some brilliant design. So before I sit down and talk to my friend over here, I want to finish with a quote from Jessica Walsh. Because she said, good design understands the culture, great design changes the culture. So for all of you guys, keep discovering, keep changing, and keep exploring. Thanks. Woo!
In case you're wondering, these are VIP seats, 10,000 euros each. You know? All right, so let's just jump right into it. You said something that stood out for me, which is like we're overwhelmed by messages. We're overwhelmed by things that try to capture our attention.
Yes.
So how do we design things, and how do we communicate in a way that stands out in a way that's memorable?
Well, as I said, you got to do your homework first and get some knowledge and get to understanding what you actually do, who is it for, what the product is, and to actually find that little thing that stands out at the end that is going to remain memorable. I know that it's a bit tricky these days. I mean, I work in a tech company, and there's tons of engineers working, and they all love their product. So they love their features. They love everything that's inside their product, so they tend to like to add as many features in any kind of communication that you can imagine. So, but these are all facts, and I just follow the impression that facts only tell and stories rather sell.
All right, so the question here is, so one practical tip out of this is, instead of just thinking about communicating a feature set, and what the technology behind it is that you do, is asking yourself, what is the story that you can tell?
Yes, I mean, there's I don't know, give a quick example. You all know Romeo and Juliet, the story from Shakespeare. But I can actually tell you the whole book in 8 words, just facts. And this is boy and girl fall in love, both die. These are 8 words, just a fact of the whole story. It tells everything. But thank God Shakespeare was not a facts teller, he was a storyteller. Otherwise, we wouldn't have all remembered and known this beautiful story. But storytelling doesn't mean that the story has to be particularly long. It can be very short. I'll give you an example from the advertising industry. Let's take the first advert that Apple brought out for the iPod was at a time where there was tons of MP4 players on the market, and people were aware that, yeah, MP4 players, MP3, you can put music on and that's it. But actually, Apple changed the game by not saying you have 16 gigabyte storage in your MP3 player, by saying 1,000 songs in your pocket. So that gives everyone a much bigger idea what's in it for me. So what do I have when I buy this product? How does it help me?
Yeah, we had I think this morning when we had breakfast, you even mentioned just like communicating different things, like instead of saying the size of something, communicating the idea in terms of this is the size of 3 stadiums versus this is the size of X amount of, whatever meters, kilometers, whatever the hell, right? So translating the features into a story or into something that the listener, the consumer can easily digest and keep with them throughout their day and then tell somebody else.
Yes,
right?
That's right. It's much easier to digest, and I think that's our homework that we have to do as designers or communicators in general, is to make those hard facts easy to understand and to digest.
You said one of my favorite slides that you had was the slide that was just like ask. Just ask a lot of fucking questions, right?
Yes.
So for people that go, because this is such a powerful truth that it might fly over people's head, right? It's like, sure, of course I'm asking, but how do you ask in the right way? How do you learn to listen? How do you learn to uncover these stories or truths that then help you, inform you in your design decisions later on? Do you have some examples on how people have to think about this?
I'm always happy to get actually out of my studio or out of the office. I'm a big fan of these conferences because it gives me 2 or 3 days off work somehow that I can concentrate on something new and get inspired by new things and thinking of other people's. And so I've learned that many people are either afraid of asking or taking risks, trying new things because of comfort zones or because of they're afraid of doing mistakes or something. But I think as a designer, you have to decide whether you want to be reactive or proactive. So whether you want to be a pioneer in whatever you do or just a follower and doing whatever other people do and follow trends.
Awesome. Well, watching the video at the beginning where you're like, what is DJI doing? Let me show you a little video. The majority of that video was not like a shot on the product, on the drone, with like a list of, with a voiceover that was telling us all the specs of it, right? So how did you guys arrive at that video, and what was the storytelling aspect of it that you guys tried to communicate?
Well, actually, that was just a selection of clips that we have done throughout the whole year. We have a series of films called DJI series, DJI Stories, and there we do not show the product at all. We just show how the product helps during everyday problems. We've just been to the Mount Etna in Sicily and helping a team of people finding out things about lava. As you may all know, that there was an eruption a couple of weeks ago. So it's just technology helping people to actually see other things, get a new perspective on things, and it's not just having fun, it's also for, evolving, getting more information, and on a day-to-day basis.
That's awesome. So when people think about, what about people that are not designers by trade?
Yes.
So that's not really their official title, but they might still benefit a lot from design thinking and from looking at the world through those lenses. Do you have any kind of advice for people here that are thinking, like how to implement the type of way a designer would think and go through the world in terms of their messaging, if they're in marketing, if they're in communication in one way or another?
Well, in general, I think in terms of design, don't be a painter that just paints a wall. Create something meaningful, and I think design for me is always a showing an idea, visualizing an idea, and not just any trend. Especially when it comes to company design or corporate design, I think corporate design should never follow any trends. It should be kind of independent from everything, from any time. And yeah, I think that makes something truly unique and special.
Yeah, but that's hard work, right? I'm going to have to leave the office and ask.
Well, that's it.
Give it up for Felix, everybody.
Thanks.
All right.
Well, thank you, guys. Thank you for taking us through that and having that little chat.
Thank you.
It was great having you here. And if there's a couple questions for you guys, we have time for just one or two this time round. Well, people do seem to take our time concerns very seriously, so they're not even daring to ask the one or two questions that we would have time for. Anyway, you guys are going to be around here,
yes.
So if there's any questions concerning design or Apple wine or whatever, we know where to go to. Yeah.
Yes.
The man.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thanks
everybody.
again.